Welcome back, Raider Nation. Raider Dave, the Grimey Raider, straight out of Southern California. We're dropping another podcast, man. The plot to take shots. That's what we're focused on today. Derek Carr in this offense versus this Baltimore defense. Now, quick update, man. I am recording this podcast as we speak. Ian Rappaport, man, quick report that came out of Baltimore. And this was actually part of my breakdown for today because we're breaking down Baltimore's defense versus the Raiders' offense. Marcus Peters went down with a knee injury, both his knees being looked at. Gus Edwards, the play before, he went down with a knee injury. Both players were taken off the field. I didn't read too far into it. I really want to focus on the podcast. I was just more focused on the mentality behind this matchup. But, man, those are two freaking huge injuries. If those guys can't go Monday night, that's a huge break for this Raider football team, man, and gives us a chance to win on Monday night because this is a tough game. And I'll just read a tweet here from Adam Schefter as well, that the Ravens fear that Gus Edwards suffered a season-ending torn ACL during today's practice per source. So we talked a lot about Lamar Jackson in this offense, Gus Edwards, how he pertains and how he could fit in, and, you know, basically like how some felt he was going to rush for about 1,200 yards. So once again, I'm not going to get too far into it, but just to clarify, Gus Edwards goes down with a knee injury, and then right after, they said the next play right after, Marcus Peters went down with a knee injury. The actual injury report is supposed to be released later today for both teams. You know, teams will start listing injuries on their injury report for the upcoming week. Now, John Harbaugh did say before all this happened, before I read news that, you know, Gus Edwards went down with an injury, they were already talking about promoting Le'Veon Bell to the active roster for Monday Night Football, and it looks like if his ACL is torn, Le'Veon Bell's going to be probably playing Monday night. You can pretty much bank on that. You know, so we'll just get into today's discussion, and that is the plot to take shots. I say that because the Raiders, you know, when it comes to deep ball attempts, you want this football team to start sailing some deep throws, keeps the defense honest. I think it's important in any football game, but against these Baltimore Ravens, this is a tough defense, man. This is a 3-4 set. This is a defense that gets after the quarterback. They've historically done it. They have good cornerbacks. I did bring up Marcus Peters earlier with the injury, but Marcus Peters is one of the more premier defensive backs in the league. They got Marlon Humphrey on the other side. He's a guy that just likes to knock the ball loose, so this is a tough defense. They get after the quarterback. They get after the football. They create turnovers, and but just, you know, talking Derek Carr in this offense and how this offense needs to revolve around the quarterback position. And you know, you just got to get Derek as many reps. You got to get an up-tempo feel, I've always said, high energy, sense of urgency. This is what we need to know. But my question to you, Raider Nation, as far as this Raiders offense, what are you curious about? You know, what are you curious about with this offense? And I'll kind of lay my curiosity out there, you know, with this outlook of the season ahead of us, man, and that is Derek Carr, man. Is his play going to elevate into that 30 touchdown to 30 to 35 touchdowns per season? That's what I'm looking for. You know, Derek Carr is a gunslinger, man. He possesses the ability. And in this league, you know, elite play at the quarterback position is to take shots. And I said that's the risk factor. Even one of you guys brought that up in the comments as well. I'm with you 110. Risk factor is everything. We talked about that with Lamar Jackson. And with that said, you know, you just want to see a quarterback like Derek Carr just start to leave everything on the field. You know, give them something they haven't seen on film. You know, they're when they're looking on film, they know the dink and dunk game. They've seen it all. They have 7 full seasons of Derek Carr on tape. They've faced him before. John Harbaugh's been there quite a long time. He's been very successful. But, you know, maybe get the ball, maybe get Henry Ruggs 7-8 looks a game. That's something they didn't see last year on tape. You know, they got one season of Henry Ruggs on tape. You know he's effective in the deep ball, but Derek Carr does need to do a better job keeping his eyes downfield to sustain the play, and most importantly, just as Gannon played, man, because Gannon's one of my favorite quarterbacks in my lifetime that I witnessed play, and one thing Gannon was really good at is looking off a damn safety. So keep your eyes downfield, hold the safety, then send maybe a hard pump fake, whatever it takes to elevate that risk factor into, you know, paying off big dividends, man. That's what we want. We want dividends to pay with the risk that we take on the field, man. And taking the safe route, just makes us average. That's all it does. I mean, the numbers look great overall. Very effective, very efficient. However, once again, these numbers have made this team average. 8-8, coming off an 8-8 season, that's average. So what we really want is we really want our quarterback to elevate this season his touchdown total. You know, can he crack 30 TDs? I mentioned that earlier. He's already got 170 touchdowns on his resume through a 7-year career. If he cracks 30 touchdowns this year, just 30, I'm not even asking for, I'm asking for 35. But if he cracked 30, that's, 200 touchdowns. That would be, I believe, let me see here. That would make him the 6th quarterback in NFL history to achieve this in eight seasons. So that's another accolade for Derek Carr. More bragging rights for those who like to go off stats, but it's something I want to see for sure because I know what that will translate to. If Derek Carr throws 30 touchdowns this year, that means the Raiders are probably winning 9 to 10 football games. That's a good sign. That's a way up. Just another sign that we gotta push the football a little bit more upfield, and a little bit less conservative. But once again, it's going to be a long season, so, they have, Gruden, I do give him credit, man, on scripting the offense. Of course, the red zone needs to clean up. There's some things they need to clean up. They need to not overthink. Last year versus Miami, that was horrible. You tell Josh Jacobs to take a knee. That's not good. That cost us a football game and Josh Jacobs a touchdown on his resume, man. We want to see both. We want to see wins and we want to see more touchdowns on Josh Jacobs' decorated resume in his early career, man. We want to see that guy go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's, I know numbers and all that stuff sometimes don't matter to folks, but, these are things that matter to us fans, and that's why we're talking about. And with those numbers brought up, they got the speed, man. They got the speed in the wide receiver core. Derek Carr has the arm strength. And you want to keep a defense like these Ravens, man. You want to keep them honest, man. This is a ball-hawking defense. This is a defense that likes to keep everything in front of them. So if you're playing, for 3rd and 3, which is not a bad thing to do, I'm just saying this team feeds off that. They want to bait you into a situation to create a turnover and come up big on defense. That's what this defense is all about. And what we're looking for is just this offense to develop more of a rhythm of risk and, just creating more tempo, the sense of urgency, the mentality of scoring at will in any scenario. That's what you want, man. If you're up 20-0, don't take your foot off the gas. Put your foot on the gas and put a team away. And even with that, if the Raiders did, say, have a 20-point lead in a game, a good thing to keep your foot on the gas, man, you got Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake. You can pound the rock, just protect the ball. That's the key because, once again, this is a defense that will do everything to slap that ball out. They like to punch the football out. They like to create turnovers, and it just cannot be. They just can't be looked past. As confident as most of us are going into this game, just can't look past a team like this. So, as far as the wide receiver, the wide receiving core, and we'll just include Darren Waller, Foster Moore. I think they're going to be huge contributors in this game. You're going to run double tight end sets. Gruden shows that a lot. You got Henry Ruggs out there, Zay Jones, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Willie Snead, all those guys, all those receivers mentioned, they need to fight for the football in the air, And my ask from Raider Nation in this is I'm asking you, how should this Raiders offense attack the Baltimore secondary? How many targets would you be giving Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards? Brian Edwards is showing nice ability on the back shoulder throw. Of course, if you guys listen to this podcast, that was one of my scouted players a couple years back in the offseason, and, his tape is just insane in college, man. This guy has the ability to be the all-around receiver. So he's got sticky hands, and once again, he can make some pretty acrobatic catches. But who is the go-to receiver? Is it Hunter Renfrow? Hunter Renfrow showed so many times that on a double release, he can get free, man. That game in Denver a couple years back, the one that they gave away where Alec Ingold was short on the goal line, and back in 2019, that game, Hunter Renfrow was freaking wide. Hunter Renfrow was literally wide open. I know there was a lot of talk over the offseason when he burned Jalen Ramsey, which was pretty nice, but he's shown this ability numerous times. But I'm talking about game speed. What happened a couple years ago in Denver is Renfrow was wide open and should have had a gimme touchdown, but he was overthrown in that play. So The ability with these wide receivers to get free releases like Hunter Renfrow. Zay Jones shows he can make contributions. He's a part of the game plan. He's made contributions. And then you got Willie Snead. His last 3 seasons, have taken place in Baltimore. So, we'll see what, if his number's called and if he gets some looks on Monday night as well. But, the part of the discussion when it comes to the wide receivers, of course I'm going to focus on Henry Ruggs. He's the number 12 overall pick. You want him as your primary target. You want him as your primary target in the game plan. And I'm talking in the game plan, how you approach the game. You want other teams to see that on film. Like, hey, you know what? The Raiders are serious with Henry Ruggs. We drafted him 12th overall for this reason, and this is why you see this on tape. Now, going back to last year, some guys are knocking on Ruggs with his 20. I think it was like 26 or 27 catches. He had a game-winning touchdown. That can't be looked past. He had a game-winning last-second touchdown in New York. That was huge, man. We're about to lose the Jets. Henry Ruggs saved us from losing from the Jets. Henry Ruggs and Derek Carr, to credit both. And I know the fact that Greg Williams, blew it on the on the coverage, if that was intentional or not. But aside from the fact, the moment happened, and Ruggs got the game winner. Also, Ruggs is a big reason why we beat Kansas City in Kansas City, man. He opened up that game. He opened up the offense in that game, in my opinion, man, with those huge clutch catches. But another thing too is, he had a solid game in Cleveland. They took a touchdown away from him in Cleveland just to defend him a little bit. They did take a touchdown away from him in Cleveland on a sweet catch too, where he had his foot clearly in bounds, both feet clearly in bounds, and a nice catch. So we got to use him in the game plan. We got to show other teams we're serious with our number 12 overall pick. And I want to see that, man. I want to see that on Monday night. I want to see him under the lights, with the crowd, the home Raider Nation crowd. I want to see TV analysts gloating about Ruggs' speed and then reminding us of former Raider greats like Cliff Branch, going back to Willie Gault, James Jett of most recent when James Jett was there 20 years ago. Speedsters. That's what the Raiders are known for, the Al Davis chosen ones. And Henry Ruggs fits that mold, man. And those guys, it's great for Monday Night Football. It's great for us Raider fans. It's part of our culture. And, I'm here to embrace it, man. So I want to see Ruggs get, 7 to 8 looks a game is what we're looking at. Because as it pertains to this Baltimore Ravens defense, this is a bend, don't break defense. You might get up the field, get inside the 20-yard line, but that's where Gruden's challenged. And that's where Baltimore is going to make the adjustments that could pay off for Baltimore. The Ravens defense has always been known for that. They're a defense, when you get down in the red zone, they're one of the better red zone defenses in the league, whereas John Gruden struggles in the red zone. So this 3-4 defense is strong and fast, man. The front seven is strong. You just look at it, and the defensive backfield, if they're missing, the defensive backfield is elite when they have Marcus Peters. We can definitely say that. But the defensive backfield could be without Marcus Peters on Monday night. We don't know yet, but man, you just look at this roster. They are stacked, man. Brandon Williams as their nose guard. You got Derek Wolfe. He's a former AFC West foe over there from Denver. You got Clytus Campbell, Justin Houston. Justin Houston had 8 sacks last year with the Colts. Now you put him on a Baltimore Ravens defense. They got Justin Ellis. You guys remember Justin Ellis used to be a Raider. Chris Smith, who was a former Raider last year, who was a big contributor in the Kansas City game. People forget that, man, that he was a big contributor in that Kansas City game, the first game that we played in Kansas City. So, but you don't want these guys coming up in this defense. So, one thing though I would like to point out is Patrick Queen, man. He really stepped up, man. He really stepped up last year. He was drafted 28th overall last year. We all talked about him. Does he take it personal that he was drafted 28th? Damon Arnett was drafted 19th. The Raiders could have drafted Queen. The kid out of LSU. They needed a linebacker. But once again, that's something, if I'm a player and I look at it like, hey, you're one of the 27 teams that passed on me, so keep an eye on that guy, keep an eye on. I'll even pull up his numbers here, and I'll be honest, man, Patrick Queen wasn't, he was on my radar, but he wasn't high on my radar. If you were looking at my 2020 mock draft, man, you would see that Kenneth Murray, the linebacker the Chargers drafted, that was my top pick at 19 for the Raiders. He started all 16 games for the Chargers last year. I think he had like 50-plus solo tackles. But aside from that, these guys are playing in football games. But look at Queen's numbers here, man. 16 games started. This guy played every game for the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, he's being added to a good defense already, so definitely he's going to develop well. This is a linebacker that needs to be taken seriously in this game. This is a guy that could step up big. I mean, he's got the numbers going all across the board. He's got forced fumbles. He's got tackles for loss. I mean, he gets after the quarterback. He's only going into his second year, but this is a guy that has caught my eye. Definitely when you're reviewing the Baltimore Ravens, this is a guy that, he's playing like a stud already in year one of his career. So, they got Malik Harris in there, the kid from Ohio State. They also got Tyus Bowser, man, a linebacker who also gets after the quarterback. So these linebackers, of course, they're in a 3-4 set. I'll put it this way. When I look at this Baltimore defense, just as I mentioned earlier, I see a strong, fast front seven. And then when it comes to the defensive backfield, I see an elite defensive backfield. And I know they could be without Marcus Peters. Without Marcus Peters, it goes down quite a few notches. Because Marcus Peters, I mean, they scored on that pick, man. They were able to get him. They traded him to the Rams for a 5th-round pick in 2019. I mean, that's crazy value what they got from him. And he's contributed crazy. I'll even pull up Marcus Peters' numbers here real quick. Just so you can see, I mean, I don't want to face this guy Monday night. Then again, you always want the best test. You always want to look at it like, hey, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best. But injuries do happen in this league. But you just look at Marcus Peters' numbers last year. I mean, he had a strong season, man. I mean, it's a pretty strong season there when you look at it. 4 forced fumbles, man. That's pretty damn good. So, and then you got Marlon Humphrey on the other side, another guy that likes to punch the football. That's what that means when it comes to this defensive backfield. They punch the football loose. They're going for turnovers. They're all about 11 guys getting after the football. And the defense did take a hit today. If Marcus Peters did go down, that's going to hurt him. That's going to hurt him. Like I mentioned earlier, it takes the DB ranks down from elite, but they still got Jimmy Smith. He just returned to practice this week. He's been there for 10 seasons or so. So he's a veteran corner, gets it, understands the game. He's effective. But give me your thoughts, too, on the Raider offense now. I know with the Raiders, they did lose some offensive line this year. Rodney Hudson's a big loss. The general of the offensive line, a team captain, a guy who had good chemistry with Carr. It remains to be seen, how Andre James adjusts. I know he stepped in a big game. I remember that game against Houston, and, he stepped up big, did a great job. And then you look at his measurables, he's fit for a center. He's fit for an NFL center. Just remains to be seen how this chemistry develops. The loss of Gabe Jackson, that hurts. Gabe Jackson was a mauler when it came to the run game. Another guy we drafted. You just don't want to lose guys like that, but it is what it is, and a lot still has to take place. We're still 5 days away from this matchup. So that's a wrap for today on a Thursday, man. Tomorrow we'll be jumping back in on a Friday for our Ravens Raiders preview, man. Full game preview for tomorrow. And then also one other thing, man, tomorrow night, I'm going to bring my vlogging camera with me to Stone Brewery. If you haven't heard of Stone Brewery, I'm sure you have. It's all over the place. They're nationwide now. But I remember when that place was like a little microbrew back in 98, man. I was sampling their beers, the Arrogant Bastard, the IPA. Long story short, just love it when a small company like that blows up so big. And like you go to other airports and you're seeing that brew there. And, they're pretty well known. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. But Stone Brewery out of Eskimo, California. I got a buddy who's leaving the state, man. He's moving away. So we're going to go celebrate a going away party tomorrow night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my vlogging camera and just take some shots from inside the brewery because they got some cool statues there. It's a cool restaurant. So I figured I'd put that on, put that out here on YouTube, man, so you guys could check it out and see what you think. But anyway, man, football's back, man. I'm excited. We got a game tonight, man. So if you got your fantasy teams, get them all locked and tight. It's about to go down, man. I'm Raider Dave. This is GrimeCast Media. And I appreciate you guys, man. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. I'm out. Peace.